And yours and all, adventurer. I've caused more than my fair share of trouble during my time here. Not that you need telling. Lo, I knew you'd return. Y'shtola delivered Severin a bit ago. Tales of your heroic deeds precede you. The rest came shuffling back too, the lot of 'em sporting the same haunted expression. It's me who's to blame for that and the rest. I was once a serpent reaver. A thrall to the Sahagin? 7 Ls. Reavers may look and sound and act like pirates, but they're not but the fishback's flunkies. Us pirates ain't much for laws, but there's things we won't do. We've got a code, see? But the Reavers have never followed a word of it. A few years back they started snatching law-abiding Laminsons. I'd only just taken my oath when our captain bent the knee to his new Sahagin masters. I knew I had to get away. So I crept off one night, got myself a new name, and found myself a new home, Summerford Farms. Trouble is, secrets don't stay secret for long round here, and word soon spread. The penalty for desertion is death, but the Reavers offered me a way out. The letter. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't bloody thinking. Too busy soiling myself. Aye, but you got there in the end, didn't you? When the time came, you made the right decision. The men say little to me, but I hear 'em talk of how you stood up to the Reavers at the last, of how you tried to give them your life to save theirs. Be that as it may, no deed, however good, can atone for the crime of betraying your brethren. I know that, I do. That's why I'm gonna hand myself over to the Yellow Jackets. I'll bring shame to the farm no more. You'll hear no arguments from me. Each man must sail according to his own moral compass. I just hope yours guides you back here someday. There will always be a place for you at Summerford Farms, lad. And I'll always be in your debt, Stilwern. I owe you a debt too, Arton. Not once have you let me down. Thank you for saving the men of my farm. If I could ask one more favor of you, it'd be this. Tell Batteron what's happened, from start to finish. I'm certain he'd put in a good word for Severin if he knew the whole story, and he's one of the few people I know who the Yellow Jackets will listen to. Well, I reckon I've asked all I can possibly ask of you. Safe travels, son. Ah, Arton, have you returned with the cargo? Yes, everything seems to be in order, relatively clear of blood and other gore. That can be something of a problem in our profession, you understand. I also had word from Clea regarding your performance. She seemed eager to continue your training. Odd lass, I'll admit, but the guild can boast no finer mind for tactics. You would do well to heed the instruction she offers. Did you perhaps notice the battered tome Clea carries? That initiate's grimoire has served her from the day she entered the guild. I fear such an intense focus on the Arcanima has led her to overlook other important aspects of life. As our master strategist guides your Arcanist training, I hope that you might return the favor and help to broaden her own perspective somewhat. But enough of such matters for the moment. You have done well this day, Arton. Continue your practice with Carbuncle as Clea has bid. I will be here when the time comes for your next lesson. Arton, the time for your next lesson is upon us. You are keeping well, I trust? Taking the occasional brisk walk? One cannot form sound thoughts if one fails to maintain a sound body. Now, assuming you have been following Clea's instructions, you should be ready to face the more dangerous threats. I speak of roselings and wild jackals, and yes, I would have you vanquish 3 of each. Speaking of which, I trust your strategy will consist of more than simply flinging ruin over and over again. You are not the novice you once were, and your skills in the field ought reflect that. If you find yourself wanting for other approaches, consider an assault with ruin in tandem with a carbuncle. When timed appropriately, you can deal a crippling blow to your enemy. Bloody hells, life on the farm ain't quite how I pictured it. Ah, but you needn't worry yourself over young Severin. The yellow jacket as hands out the punishments is a good mate of mine. If I ask him nice, I reckon he'd be willing to commute the lad's sentence from hanging to keel hauling. Kindly gent that he is. Ah, I'm only jesting with ye. I'll see he's treated fair. Now it sounds to me like you've done everything old Stalewern asked of ye, and more, justifying me generous finder's fee in the process. Much obliged, lad. As for reward, well, she's a lonely lady, this drowning wench of mine. How'd you fancy keeping her company for a spell? With free room and board. Venturing's a trying business after all. Them as don't rest their bones every now and again tend to end up with broken ones. And take it from me, fighting ain't nearly so much fun when you're nursing a shattered arm. Got that? Good. There'll always be a free bed for you. Not that you'll have much time for lying around, what with all the levies you'll be doing. Oh, didn't I mention? I'm putting your name down for levies. Our guild draws all manner of clients, offering all manner of odd jobs. Honestly, you'd be amazed how much folk will pay to avoid doing an honest day's work. Just give Tomoki a shout whenever you feel like making a few extra gil. Oh, and it's all above board, in case you're wondering. We're careful to stay on the Admiral's right side in here, unlike some pirates I could mention. I tell you, if it turns out they had aught to do with them kidnappings, there'll be 7 L's to pay. Proper bleeding reckoning. Mayhap that's what Limsa needs, though. On rough seas, sometimes you have to rock the boat to right it. But we'll have time for such talk when you're well and rested. How'd you fare, Arden? Rested, ready to expand your horizons? Well then, I have an idea where you might try heading next. Have you heard of the Skylift? If you've ever visited Woad Whisper Canyon, then you must have been up and down the thing at least once. It's that big bleeding scaffold in it. You've likely seen the lads and lasses out there using it to haul cargo up the cliff face. Hard labor that, and I hear they could use an enterprising soul to pick up the odd jobs what no other bugger has time to deal with. Track down the head of the operation, bloke by the name of Workhit, and he'll be sure to put you to work. Baderon sent you out here, did he? Then consider yourself welcome at the Skylift. Look at that bloody cliff, will you? One blast of fiery hell from that huge dragon was all it took to split the ground in half. Cargo still needs to get through, though, so this mess of wooden pulleys was our solution to the problem. Well, one of them at least. If the gods were kind, and they ain't, I'd have about a dozen more workers to hand in me growing list of headaches. Glad I am to see you again, lad. The wagon driver just returned in a great bloody hurry, screaming about some monstrosity what sprang out of a milk-corn seedling in his cargo. Seems the gutless bastard tossed it over the side before turning tail and running for his life. I need you to head down the road, recover the seedling, and deliver it over to Lulf at Swiftperch in western Lanaska. Whatever he pays you for the cargo is yours to keep. After all, I don't rightly know what else is lurking inside that plant. You deserve to be rewarded for your troubles. Oh, and you'll also find an aetherite in Swiftperch, so the journey should be worth your while. Has Nimia herself forsaken this desolate land? Though I understood there were risks in gambling my entire fortune on a crop of million corn, I at least expected the seedling to be delivered before disaster struck. Is that my million corn seedling? Oh, joyous day! It may seem a paltry beginning, but the yield of this particular variety of crop plant is nothing short of astonishing. As you have undoubtedly noticed, Swiftperch lacks a certain, shall we say, vital energy. Thus I mean to restore a modicum of hope to its residents by growing a veritable ocean of corn. You, sir, seem fit to burst with vim and vigor. Might I persuade you to abide a while and help nurture this ailing settlement? You there, adventurer, cast your eyes towards the brewer's beacon. Does the light not seem uncommonly weak? cannot possibly be bright enough to guide the ships sailing in the bay. I would march over to the lighthouse and investigate myself, but I am duty-bound to remain at my post. I would consider it a favor if you could make a visit to Brewer's Beacon. You say a yellow jacket sent you here? Eh? Me light's grown dim, has it? Well, of course it has. The bomb what fuels me furnace has up and buggered off, you see. I know you're just the messenger, lad, but I can tell a venturer when I see one. I'm gonna need you to chase down that bomb and bring back a claw what you ripped from its smoldering corpse. Take this here iron brazier and set her down in the middle of the flock, somewhere near the scarecrow, I'd say. You get a nice fire going and that frisky bomb will soon be about. Watch you don't singe your eyebrows, lad. All you need to do is take down that runaway bomb and bring me one of its little claws. Ah, you got that ashy bastard, did you? Once I put this little firecracker in the furnace, that should keep things running for a while. I had myself a bit of a look while you was gone, and Lim Lane cursed me if the furnace weren't all bent and broken. Small wonder if the bloody bomb was able to escape. Patched things up as best I could, but I ain't no smithy. You might want to have a chat with that yellow jacket friend of yours in Swift Perch and have him pass the word back to someone in Limsa. The furnace is damaged, is it? Very well, I shall write up the relevant reports. It seems I have another favor to ask of you, adventurer. Take yourself straight away to the Armorer's Guild, and tell Forge Master Hanzo what happened here. Welcome back, Arton. How did it feel to conquer such ferocious foes? Let us ride that wave of triumph onto even more demanding and dangerous challenges. Your next training exercise will have you accompanying Forseer Clea on one of her inspections. This experience will afford you the opportunity to witness firsthand the practical application of Arcanima. A timely appearance, as I expected. I have been tasked with examining the wares of a goblin peddler caravan run by the Boylestocks family. Our agents suspect these beastmen merchants of dealing in forbidden goods. As such, I have calculated that announcing an inspection has a 60% chance of inviting physical violence. I have prepared a strategy to respond to this possible shift in hostilities, but there is an important precondition you should be made aware of. Though I am considered gifted in the formation of tactics, I lack the reflexes and coordination necessary to employ many of those self-same strategies on the field of battle. Now, should the goblins offer battle, you are to execute combat pattern 1345, otherwise known as stratagem focus fire. You and your carbuncle will concentrate your attacks on a single foe. Reports place the peddlers in the vicinity of the cookpot in Middle Lanaska. I will depart immediately to assess the situation. Seek me out once you arrive. The furnace in the Brewer's Beacon needs repairs? Brayguts beard, I just sent someone out to tinker with it not a week past. Mayhap the bomb Kansuish had trapped in there was a touch too volatile? I'll have an artisan visit the lighthouse and pay special attention to reinforcing the casing of that furnace. What say you to take on some work from Naldik and Vimelis? We've a great hulking warship to build and could certainly use an extra hand for any number of tasks. For your first job, I need you to run this missive over to Atbrim, the head shipwright at the Moora Bay Dry Docks. We forge most of the ship's bits and pieces here at the Armorers Guild, but the actual construction takes place at the docks found in the south of Lower Lanaska. That's also where you'll find the main offices of Maldik and Vimelis. The Morby Dry Docks is one of Limsa's most important districts, at least as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure you'll not regret attuning yourself to the area's aetheryte. If you've no confidence in your sense of direction, you'd be best served making use of the Chocobo Porters. Should you choose to make the trek on your own 2 feet, leave the city through the Tempest Gate and follow the road south. May the navigator guide your steps. I am Foreseer Clea of Melvain's Gate. You are to cease all transactions and surrender your goods for inspection.
Nasty sneaky peekers, gobbies, split uplander, nose eyes on stabby iron.
A predictably aggressive response. Very well, Arton. Remember what we discussed. Nicely done. Adaptation, improvisation, I might as well have been observing our beloved guildmaster himself in action. This was the perfect example of how the strategy for a given task should be tailored to the abilities of the assessor. In other words, before you begin formulating your tactics, it is necessary to fully understand your own strengths and weaknesses. On that note, there is another question I would ask you. When it comes to improving the probable success of a strategy, do you consider it more effective to concentrate on playing to your strengths or shoring up your weaknesses? Oh ho! Again you respond as the guildmaster once did. I must revise the probability of your potential to attain greatness to 97%. But to return to the subject of battle plans, your calculations must include an accurate assessment of your available techniques and their relative effectiveness. This requires you to be critically aware of your own limits, the limits of your allies, and the characteristics of your enemies. I believe that covers everything for today. Please return to the guild and make your report to Mistress Thubigim. Until next we meet, I shall abide here until the Yellow Jackets arrive to take the peddlers into custody. My strategies will keep me company. Back from the field, Arton, Clea contacted me with a summary of events. It seems you were treated to a lecture on knowing thyself. That particular lesson is ordinarily taught only to intermediate practitioners. Without a sufficient store of combat experience from which to draw, it is difficult to fully appreciate the profundity of a seemingly simple solution. Nevertheless, I feel confident that you will soon be ready for a more ambitious assignment. You seem tired, Arton. Are you sleeping properly? One's reasoning can suffer without sufficient rest and recuperation. Should you deem yourself fit for duty, pray make your way down to the practice floor, for Seer Clea has requested you accompany her on another official inspection. There is, however, a requirement for your participation. The Foreseer will explain. I was beginning to think I'd miscalculated, Arton. Thank you for coming. I will soon be boarding a trading vessel suspected of smuggling. All merchant ships that make use of Limsa ports are subject to inspection by Melvain's Gate assessors. It is a routine I perform daily. In the case of the smugglers, however, there is a 75% probability of encountering resistance, and thus I would appreciate your company during this inspection. It is now that we must discuss the requirement of which you were informed. Though I have full confidence in your martial expertise, it is imperative that you first acquire the ability to summon Topaz Carbuncle. Very good. The arcane entity given form by the Topaz geometry will further expand your offensive capabilities. With such an ally at your command, even the harshest of enemies will falter before you. Please return to Mistress Thubigim and inform her of your participation. I will join you once I have compiled the appropriate formulae. You have agreed to accompany the Foreseer? Then I shall gladly instruct you in the use of Topaz Carbuncle. Pray, do not hesitate to employ this entity in combat should the inspection turn sour.